Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Conn and the Stick. I am Justin Connolly, joined with the Stick, Nick Smith, and today we are joined by a special guest. He was there for our SummerSlam predictions, but joining us today for the NFL to share his insight, one, Scott Bargeson.
Happy to be here, as always.
Of course. And last week we did Week 1 review, Week 2 predictions, and then we kind of went over our season-ending season award predictions. And this week we're just going to get into Week 2, the review, what we thought, what we're seeing for the rest of the season, and then we'll get into our Week 3 predictions, which should get a little bit more interesting because now we have Scott here to might agree with us or disagree with us a little bit more. So without further ado, let's get into it. Guys, biggest takeaway from Week 2, what did you think?
Easily Fitz magic. The dude is unbelievable. Well, he's just tossing the rock around like it's nothing. He goes out, he beats Saints Week 1, then he beats the Eagles Week 2, probably two of the best teams in the NFC, and he's just slinging it around to Deshaun Jackson, who knows how old he is now, and Mike Evans is unbelievable, and just that offense is rocking on all cylinders, and I'm excited to see how it goes moving forward.
Also, I got to say, Fitzpatrick probably had the best post-game interview in the history of the NFL.
Oh, it was great.
Excellent wardrobe choice a la Deshaun Jackson. Saying he needs to stay humble with the chains around his neck. It was too perfect.
It really was. I mean, like, when it's every year I feel like in the NFL, we get something you just you're not ready for. And the Bucs is definitely something that no one was ready for. You know, you have Jameis Winston suspended for 3 games for what was it?
Sexual
assault on the Uber driver.
Uber driver. Yeah.
I mean, my thing is that if you're the Tampa Bay Bucs, do you, after a 3-game suspension, do you play Jameis Winston, or you let this one ride out with Ryan Fitzpatrick? I mean, right now it seems like, why wouldn't you just keep the train rolling with Ryan Fitzpatrick?
You physically can't bench this guy right now. He's just tossing it, 4 touchdowns a game. He's playing awesome. He's 2-0, beat 2 of the best teams in the NFL. So Winston is your young guy. He is your future, but you got to ride this hot hand, I think, for the time being.
Well, my biggest takeaway from this week is when the pressure comes, not every field goal kicker can make it. Obviously, in 2 different games, in 2 different games, we had it really the importance of a kicker. Honestly, you know what? I'm gonna say that because I'm gonna reword it because we had in 2 instances where a field goal kicker did not come up clutch for a certain team. And then we had 1 instance where one did. So the importance of having a good field goal kicker, and you see why these teams, and why don't we start with the Denver Broncos? Obviously, Scott, you know the Denver Broncos well, and why Brandon McManus has been a permanent successor to Matt Prater is because when the clutch time comes, he's a guy that makes field goals. Am I correct?
Oh, yes, for sure. He definitely is able to pull his weight, and he very rarely cracks under the pressure. The only time you'll see something like that is when he's trying to kick a 65-yarder or something stupid while he's in Denver, and he just has that pressure on his back. But other than that, he's consistent.
Right, and I mean, it's just a matter of you don't understand why, like, you only have certain teams in the NFL that have consistent kickers. I mean, obviously, Baltimore with Justin Tucker, there's no reason you get rid of him. Greg Zuerlein, obviously the injury this year, parting. Yeah. Stephen Gostkowski. But a lot of those guys, they find new jobs every year. And why? Because you're not a consistent kicker. And you see the importance, obviously, the Cleveland Browns are in a position to beat the New Orleans Saints, send them to 0-2, which I would have not have thought was possible. But Zane Gonzalez misses a field goal, and the Saints end up winning that one. Daniel Carlson, so much pressure on a rookie within Week 2, but he missed 3 field goals that could potentially put the Minnesota Vikings in on top of the Green Bay Packers in the division.
Also, in that game, Mason Crosby missed a field goal at the end of regulation, which made it go to overtime.
Yeah, well, I guess Mason Crosby, right, obviously.
But still, just this entire week, I felt like there was missed field goals.
Yeah.
The Jets-Miami game, there was an extra point missed.
Yeah, that was Jason Sanders.
There was just just all around the league. There was a lot of missed kicks last week.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to a stat I didn't even think about until they said it on television. And I don't mean to throw salt in the wound here,
Jeez.
Nick, but Ryan Tannehill is 9-1 in his last 10 starts for the Miami Dolphins. And there's so much pressure on the fact that everyone's unsure about Ryan Tannehill. Maybe, he's not a franchise quarterback. He's not this. He's not that. He's hurt. How does the knee pull up? The knee's fine. If you watched that game, and I know you did.
I did.
I know. I know both of you did. I mean, does it look like that? It's a guy that came off a torn ACL.
He seemed like he was moving around pretty well. Of course, the big brace it hinders you a bit, but he had some read option plays at the end of the game, picked up some clutch third downs for Miami, and his legs are the reason why they sealed it off in the end.
It's you think of Ryan Tannehill, nobody. That's not a guy that anybody really talks about a lot. But 9-1 is a starter in the last 10 games. That's a stat to watch out for, and it's definitely something that, whether it's Ryan Tannehill himself finally finding himself, I think it's a combination of Ryan Tannehill throughout his career has had 4 or 5 different offensive coordinators, and now he's finally has Adam Gase, who puts him in a system where he works well. He's got a lot of speed around him. It works, and we might see more success from him in the future. So going back, why don't we go to from the East Coast to the West Coast? A really close game there in the Bay Area, San Francisco, Detroit.
Yeah, it was a really close one. Came down to the wire. Detroit actually was down a decent amount in the fourth quarter. They had a good comeback, but just not enough time for Matt Stafford when he really got rolling. Had a really rough start in the first half, but hopefully this is something the Lions could build off of.
It's really scary to see Matt Patricia fail in such a robust way over these last couple of weeks. He just can't get the right schemes together. He can't get the play calling correct. It's really a shame to see, but hopefully he'll be able to turn it around before the end of the season.
It's still it's a question of whether or not. Obviously, we're questioning whether or not Matt Patricia is an NFL head coach because you go from calling plays on your defense to really the head coach's job is to manage the game. He's got to call the timeouts. He's got to throw the challenge flags. He's got to make sure guys are in the right position, and it is a huge responsibility. We've seen guys not succeed as head coaches, but they're coordinators. Wade Phillips is a guy that's a tremendous defensive coordinator now for the Los Angeles Rams. It was an okay head coach, really at best.
He was mediocre, even in the best season, I think. Who did he head coach for? The Bills?
Dallas.
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 Yeah. Oh well, there you go.
He had Romo at the time, though, so he had a decent squad with him. But.
Right. It's just a matter of, if this doesn't work out for Matt Patricia, I wouldn't be surprised. Yes, it's really early in the season. The Lions have so much time to turn it around. Like the Los Angeles Chargers, I'm pretty sure they started 0-4 before going about at least 9-7, 8-8. But you just, they're not in trouble yet. Who is in trouble is the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
You talk about the biggest stories from the week. I think the biggest story was the Bills are so bad and it's so dysfunctional. Cornerback Vontae Davis retired at halftime. That's how bad it's going there.
It's just not a good situation at all. You have one of your veteran leadership guys just quitting on your team mid-game. Offensively, it's just abysmal. Defensively, it's not much better. They gave up 40 points week 1, and last week they were getting blown out too. Till the end of the game, they came back a tad bit, but it's just a giant mess. And Bills Mafia is probably breaking tables over their own heads right now. That's how bad it is over there.
Well, not only have the tables been banned, which is the biggest tragedy that's going on in Buffalo right now, the second biggest tragedy is the fact that Vontae Davis played 5.5 quarters of football and said, "Peace, I'm done playing." Forever, more than likely. Hopefully he'll be able to get a job somewhere else and he kind of comes to his senses and realizes how good of a player he is for somebody at 30, for sure.
Yeah.
And how much more time he has, but wow, that is Just the nerve of some
I mean,
people.
you just don't hear stuff about that.
Never.
I mean, it's just it's concerning for the Buffalo Bills. They don't have another easy game as they play the Vikings next week, but we'll go over that later. Speak about dysfunction. We're gonna go to Pittsburgh, and I did not envision the start of Pittsburgh seasons going the way that it is. I mean, their defense has let up tons of big plays. I mean, all credit to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs' offense. We all knew. We sat there. We were our only concern with the Chiefs was how good the defense was going to play. Obviously, with losing guys like Derek Johnson and Marcus Peters, we all knew the offense was going to be good. It's just dependent on Patrick Mahomes, and obviously the guy's lighting it up so far.
10 touchdowns already this
10
season.
touchdowns in 2 games.
I'm very scared as a Broncos fan to see how he's going to be tearing up the secondary because obviously they're not looking too good either.
Andy Reid, Coach of the Year. I said it.
You did, but I mean, it's just a matter of whether or not, like, what's going on with this Pittsburgh team. Obviously, you have the dysfunction with Le'Veon Bell; it causes dysfunction there. You have Antonio Brown that not nearly seeing as many targets and catches as we've seen him doing. I mean, should Pittsburgh be concerned right now?
On the defensive side, they should certainly be concerned because they can't stop a nosebleed right now. Offensively, they scored a lot of points last game. It's just with Antonio Brown, you know what? I'm not looking too much into that because you look at Juju, and he had like 120 yards and like 10 catches last week. So I think Big Ben just spreading the ball out maybe a little bit more now that he's a really good number 2 guy. But yeah, defensively, they need to find ways to get stops. They're just giving up huge play after huge play, and they're not going to beat the really good teams in this league.
Now, this is the question that I have when it comes to Pittsburgh right now, and especially Antonio Brown. And I want to get your guys' opinion on this. There was a tweet that went out from somebody at Pittsburgh or a fan or something like that. I didn't read too much into it that said Antonio Brown would be nowhere without Big Ben, and Big Ben makes Antonio Brown good. Put him on any other team, and he doesn't succeed as well. And Antonio Brown said, trade me, and you'll find out. What is your guys' opinion? Is Antonio Brown only good because of Big Ben, or is he good on his own?
You see, I've had a lot of trouble trying to formulate a good opinion on this, but based on past evidence of people like Mike Wallace or Santonio Holmes, they were great when they were with Ben, but then when they go to other teams, say the Jets or the Eagles or the Vikings, they kind of fall into obscurity. They don't exactly deliver to the same amount that they were able to deliver while they're in Pittsburgh. Now, you could say the same thing about Antonio Brown, but he's been with Big Ben for such a long time, and he's been succeeding so well. Even when Big Ben was injured, he was still working with Michael Vick for a little while and still doing really well, so it's kind of hard to say.
Yeah, I actually think Antonio Brown would be better off if he went somewhere else. I like Big Ben, but I think if he had a really more accurate, like say if he was with Aaron Rodgers or like one of those guys, Drew Brees. Yeah. Does Big Ben make Antonio Brown? No. Like Big Ben's a good quarterback, certainly helps out Antonio Brown, but like this guy's phenomenal. You don't put up the numbers that he puts up just because he's an average guy. Mm-hmm. Like I think the bigger thing about this is him saying trade me. Like, what kind of message does that send to your team? Like, I know, like, you're just a random fan and, like, maybe you're joking, but, like, some people are going to take that seriously. And, I don't know. I just feel like that's something you should probably stay away from saying.
Yeah, like, for me, when I saw that tweet, I immediately thought, oh, who's more toxic between him and Le'Veon Bell? I mean, of course, you're going to say Le'Veon Bell just because of the holdout and that whole chestnut that's going on in that section of the locker room. But to have Antonio Brown have the confidence and the ego to say, trade me and let's see what happens, it's very telling to how his role is as a Steeler, you know?
My opinion is this. I've sat here and I've told you guys exactly how I felt about Antonio Brown. I think he is the best receiver in the league because he does things that 6'4", 6'5" guys do, and he does it in a smaller stature. He has, and might be arguably the best route runner in the league right now. It's very unsure. I mean, I think that Big Ben is a guy that throughout his last couple of years has been a guy at the end of his career, and you definitely see the decline. I mean, his play call. Yeah, I've had people go up to me and say, "Yeah, Big Ben has always sling the ball and fit it into tight windows." Not the way I see Big Ben now. Yes, Big Ben is a guy that takes chances, and he's always been a guy that takes chances. But now it's more or less not aggressive, it's reckless. Some of the passes that he's thrown. I mean, what, 3 interceptions or against
He turned
Cleveland?
The ball over like 4 or 5 times against Cleveland, fumbling and interceptions.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, it's a guy that's being reckless with the ball, and I only think that he throws it up there, and because Antonio Brown is a guy that he goes up and get the ball. He is making these plays to make Big Ben look good, and that's my opinion.
If you look at it this way, Big Ben's had San Antonio Holmes, Plaxico Burress, Hines Ward, Antonio Brown, Mike Wallace,
Antoine Randall.
Maybe all these guys make Big Ben good. I'm not cutting Big Ben short. Big Ben is really good, but he's had his fair share of weapons to certainly use. He's had Le'Veon Bell. He even had Jerome Bettis at the beginning of his career. So
obviously,
not like he hasn't had weapons.
The quarterback wide receiver chemistry is something that you absolutely want to do. I mean, especially in the NFL, obviously in college and stuff like that, but especially in the NFL because it's more. I feel like yes, you have play calls and you have strict things that you could do, but obviously the NFL I feel like is more fluent, more like on the fly kind of play calling a little bit because you're allowed to do more when you have this. And you want to be able to have a quarterback that knows exactly the tendencies of his wide receiver, what routes he likes to run on this, how he's going to make his release, where he wants the ball put, and that's important. And obviously, Big Ben has built up a lot of chemistry with almost every guy that comes through here. But I feel like there's no reason that Antonio Brown, from watching the tape like that, would absolutely not succeed anywhere else.
Oh no, he'll definitely be successful wherever he goes, but to what degree it's hard to tell.
Yes. So enough with Pittsburgh. We're just bouncing around games here. Panthers and the Falcons in a tight one. Just definitely goes to show you that these NFC South games, they're going to be competitive.
Oh yeah, certainly are. Cam Newton trying to come with a fourth quarter comeback. He actually was bringing back Carolina. Just another instance of just one drive too short, just couldn't find a way to pull it out. But on that other end, Matt Ryan, again, he won the game, but there was a couple long balls I remember him throwing and just ducks up in the air, intercepted by safety. So Matt Ryan's not looking too promising, but they come up with the win.
And without Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman. I've said, he could be a starter on multiple
20 teams,
probably 20 teams.
Easily 20.
So it just goes to show you the NFC South is a very competitive division. I think it really we go up to it and we think it's just home field advantage is really the argument there with just in between. But right now, the Bucs at the top of that list. No one saw that coming. And if you said that you saw that one coming, you're a liar. Didn't really watch too much of the Titans and the Texans, but the Texans, it was surprising to see them get a win over a Texans team that was definitely more healthy than they were. Held Deshaun Watson in check. I think the big game I want to talk about now is I've been hearing, obviously, the Jacksonville Patriots game, and now they're saying that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick's time as champions of the AFC and the dominance that they've had after that game, it's coming to an end. After 2 weeks, do you think that that's the case?
How many times have we heard this before now?
Yeah, wasn't it that one year they started off 1-3 and the Chiefs beat the crap out of them in week 4, and I think they won the Super Bowl that year. So I'm not too worried about the Patriots. Tom Brady will figure things out. He just played a really, really good team. Jacksonville probably, with the way the Steelers look right now, they're top 2 in that conference. So, And Blake Bortles, man, he was slinging it around, and boy, do I love to see Blake Bortles toss a rock. Even without Leonard Fournette, that offense still put up plenty of points.
Right.
And
Well, TJ Yeldon finally, I feel like, is coming. It took a couple years, but TJ Yeldon finally fit the mold. He's a 3-down back. I know he's definitely somebody that you don't. You take Fournette out there on 3rd down. You let TJ Yeldon use his versatility a little bit more, his ability in open space. But, I mean, yes, you're talking about Jacksonville, and the difference between this is that, you know what, Jacksonville, and especially Blake Bortles, is a guy that he plays good big in big situations, plays terrible against terrible situations, in terrible opponents. I mean, I didn't like the way he played against the Giants, but he comes in next week against the Patriots and lights them up. So, I mean, this inconsistency with Bortles is just one of the reasons why people don't like him. But, I mean, he's got to find a consistent rhythm. You can't just have, you're going to play bad against the Giants, but you're going to play good against the Patriots. You're going to play bad against Jacksonville's playing somebody that's not or they're playing Tennessee. You can't play bad against Tennessee and then come back the next week and play whoever they're playing. So it's just a matter of finding consistency with Blake Bortles, and that's going to help him keep his job. So why don't we go to? I was impressed with the Giants week 1, and I'm flipping the side here. Man, the Cowboys beat them up on Sunday night.
I didn't see much of the game, but I was watching some of the game casts on my phone, and offensively, just Giants got nothing going at all. Like the entire, I think, first 3 quarters, they almost had nothing going at all. Saquon Barkley wasn't getting many rushing attempts. He got a lot of plays in the passing game, but the offensive line, oh my God, it's just awful. Their center just had a serious leg injury, right? I think he broke his leg or something along those lines. I don't know. Their center was really hurt. I know. Yeah, the Giants, from a good week 1 performance, played really well. And then it's like they played down to their competition going against Dallas, and Dak Prescott was able to do enough to give the Cowboys a win.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we see the Cowboys defensive line absolutely destroy the Giants offensive line, and that's where the problem stems with the Giants. It's just an O-line problem. I thought that they actually held their own a little bit against Jacksonville, but you come back on a Sunday night and you get flat out destroyed by the defensive line led by DeMarcus Lawrence. So, I mean, all this hype around the Giants is slowly coming down on top of them. But another big question, and I want to get your opinion on this, was another thing is that I believe ESPN or NFL.com posted was there's no denying Saquon Barkley's ability in the league, but not someone the Giants should have taken at number 2. What are your thoughts on that?
Taking him at number 2, I'm not gonna blame them. He was the number 1 most talented player in that draft at any position. But the running back position isn't what it used to be. Like, could you take in a quarterback there? Like, yeah, Eli, he's at the very end of his career. And at this point, I don't think he's that guy that's really going to take you to that next step, unless the Giants just didn't like any of the quarterbacks at this year's class, and they wanted to take a running back. Maybe they think they'd be bad again this year and take a QB the following year. I don't know, but I just feel like I love Eli, but just he's at that point where he's not really performing. So I think if they really were trying to win this year, maybe a quarterback would have been the right move, but it's hard to argue with a guy with Saquon Barkley how talented he is.
I don't really have much to say. I mean, I thought it was a funny decision for the Giants to pick up Saquon. I thought he was going to go a little bit later to somebody who actually needed more of a running game. I was hoping that the Giants would take an offensive lineman just to fill up one of those roles, but I see they're looking ahead into the future much further than we all expected. I feel like Saquon's a good person to create a team around, and if they can get some good offensive linemen next year in free agency that can bolster the run game, Eli can play another year or 2 and be perfectly fine. They can wait for a quarterback, and they'll just be able to make 500 and be happy with that.
Well, I mean, I thought that it was a good move to trap Saquon Barkley because of the fact that that's a guy that you can build your offense around. And I think that that's a guy that it's not going to be an 8-9 year guy. It's not going to be a guy I think it's a guy that's going to last long. You're going to have him for a while. I mean, he's a unique talent. I don't think we've ever seen a combination of size and speed in a running back like this. And I mean, you can argue Leonard Fournette. You can argue Adrian Peterson. I would say Adrian Peterson. But, I mean, even still, I think Saquon Barkley is a talent of its own. Yeah, do you always want to grab your franchise quarterback when you have a chance? Yes, but, I mean, even with the Jets, I mean, Sam Darnold was going to be the guy that they were going to take at that position. We've seen bright spots by Sam Darnold, but we've also seen the negatives of Sam Darnold. Obviously, going back to the Jets game, we see he doesn't see the safety underneath, bad vision. I mean, I blame Terrell Pryor for the majority of what happened in the end zone there, but you get a big turnover, and then all of a sudden you take one shot to the end zone, and bam, that huge turnover that you got is just gone, just like that. So you see the inconsistency with Sam Darnold, and yes, you would say you're going to put him under a guy like Eli Manning, he's going to learn, but who really knows? I mean, you could either be unsure, which, you know what, it's a matter of with quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, everyone's like that. Every player, it's like you draft this guy, but what was the safer pick? Barkley, in my opinion, was the safer pick.
Oh, he's by far the safest pick that you could have made, possibly other than Bradley Chubb, because you know they're both going to succeed in their fields. But Saquon, definitely going to be a person that they can build an offense around, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do the next couple of seasons.
Interesting enough, and I think one more shocker. I mean, the Monday night game really wasn't that much of a surprise. Defensive dominance by the Bears. But the Bengals starting 2-0 kind of threw me off. I know we did ours on a Thursday right before the game. We both said the Ravens in an emphatic win, and all of a sudden the Bengals come out. AJ Green has 3 touchdowns
in the first half. Yeah, I was very happy for my fantasy team, but I did not see it happening one bit. Don't know what happened. Just the Ravens, I guess they forgot they were going against a top 5 receiver in the NFL, and they just let him loose in the end zone 3 times in 30 minutes. So, but
Andy Dalton was slinging the ball.
You know what? It's good for the Bengals. You know what? Didn't expect much from them, but you know what? That's why they play the games. You know, you never know what's going to happen, and sometimes one team just comes out firing, and the other one just lays an egg, and that's what we saw Thursday.
3 teams we didn't expect to be. Well, I didn't expect to be 2-0. The Dolphins did not expect them to be 2-0. The Bucs, no one expected them to be 2-0. And the Bengals are 2-0 right now. Fun fact: every team in Florida right now is undefeated. So,
that's actually insane.
That's amazing.
So, I mean, for other than the fact that the Colts slid by the Redskins, and, you know, I thought that was a toss-up game, really, honestly. I know I said the Colts are going to be the worst team in football, other than the Bills, I think.
But Luck's been looking good, so...
Well, you have Andrew Luck back, and that's a game changer. Rams dominate the Cardinals.
And nothing surprising there.
And then we talked about the Broncos kicking a game-winning field goal against the Raiders. A little bit concerned with John Gruden starting 0-2 after making all that money. But that's what happens when you let a game-changing talent on defense go, Khalil Mack.
Also, shout out Derek Carr. At one point in the game, he was having the record for best completion percentage in an NFL game at one point. It was like 21-22 or something along those lines. Then he threw a few incompletions towards the end and lost it. But, he was very efficient. A lot of dink and dunk passes, though. Not many shots, but hopefully the Raiders' defense could bolster up a bit, and maybe the Raiders take a few more shots down the field, put some more points on the board.
So let's go to Week 3. Let's get your opinion. Obviously, we're going to start with your boys. Thursday night, Jets travel to the Browns. Are they in Cleveland or are they at New York?
Actually, I'm not 100% sure on that.
They are, as of right now, I think, they're in Cleveland. That's a little bit different in my opinion. I'll start this one off. I hate to do it to you, but I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns in this one. I think that they've competed 2 weeks in a row against two of the top teams in the NFL. And it's just a matter of riding the momentum. Yes, you were this close to beating the Saints, and yes, you were about this close to beating the Steelers, but you're not playing a team of that caliber now, and especially a guy like Tyrod Taylor. I mean, that helps the Jets plan a little bit more, obviously, because you played him for the last couple of years, twice a year. But with this talent of Cleveland and you being home, if it was the Jets home, I would have said that's a different story. But with Cleveland at home, I'm taking Cleveland in this one.
I just feel like Cleveland always finds a way to lose no matter what it is. But knowing the Jets also do that as well. But I just don't think Cleveland's offense has it going right now. And I know Jarvis Landry's a little banged up right now. They just traded away Josh Gordon. He didn't play last week anyway, but good luck for the Patriots there. I think the Jets defense can hold Cleveland's offense just enough, and that the Jets can just – Cleveland's defense has been playing pretty well, but I think we could sneak in just enough points over Cleveland. So I think the Jets can pull it off on the road. Not just saying that because I'm a Jets fan. I'm just saying that because it's Cleveland.
Yeah, you have confidence in your team, and I know the history of Cleveland. Well, it's a good pick regardless.
I have a very quick prediction, seeing as how I have no investment in either the Cleveland Browns or the New York Jets. Honestly, I just want to see the Browns win. Just because I want to see the Browns win, just for the honor and the romance of it. But I have a very bold prediction. Johnny Manziel is going to come in the last 30 seconds of the game, kick a game-winning field goal, so the Browns win by +3, 24-21.
No more predictions for you. No more predictions for you.
You're fired.
This is Scott's last appearance on this podcast. Bills and the Vikings.
Yeah,
I don't need to even add. I don't even need.
Although it will be interesting to see how Dan Bailey fares. And
in his first game, yeah.
His first game back since retiring. Second most
Vikings.
Yeah,
I think there's no debate here.
Vikings.
It's not going to be close.
Skull.
Interesting, Matt. Giants and the Texans. Why don't we start with you, Scott? Giants or the Texans?
That's going to be very interesting to see how Saquon goes up against that very underrated pass rush, the underrated run blocking on the inside. It's going to be very interesting to see how Eli fares against the secondary. Solid defense all around. I feel like Deshaun Watson's going to just slay the Giants' defense. So overall, it's going to be a close game, but I'm going to have to go with the Texans on this one.
Just the Giants' offensive line is so bad right now, and Texans got a pretty good one. So I just think the Texans are going to get after the quarterback. They're going to make plays. Deshaun Watson not going against a great defense either. So I just think the Texans will win this one pretty easily.
For everything that I have to say about the Giants is nothing against their has nothing to do with their skill positions. I think they have a better skill position. Obviously, I love DeAndre Hopkins. He's one of my top 3 receivers. Giants have a better skill position set. They have the better running back. They have the more experienced quarterback. I don't think that you can officially say after 1 year that Deshaun Watson's better than Eli Manning. And I would even say that for the most part, the Giants' secondary is better. But everything with the Giants right now comes down to the offensive line and what they're going against. With a pass rush that consists of J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney, and Whitney Merciless, you can't bet on the Giants. I'm going with the Texans in this one as well. Colts, Eagles, it shouldn't be close. Carson Wentz comes back.
First game back. He may have a little jitters, maybe a little rusty, but that's a game the Eagles shouldn't lose.
It's also going to be interesting to see how Carson Wentz deals with Jordan Matthews and see how that team.
Yeah, Jordan Matthews coming back. That's right.
Going to be very interesting. So it's going to be 2 returns for the Eagles, and we're hopefully going to see a much more efficient offense than we saw this past weekend. Eagles.
There's no doubt in my mind that Carson Wentz's first game, especially being in Philly, they always play good at the length. The fans have something to just make it so much better now. The Eagles in an emphatic win with Carson Wentz's first start back.
Quite emphatic.
Packers and the Redskins. More interesting matchup than I would actually say to not, because I like the matchup right here. An interesting Redskins team that surprised me with how well they handled the Arizona Cardinals week 1. A team that I would have thought they would have given this a run, and then all of a sudden they go home and they get stomped really by a below average Colts team, in my opinion. So, I mean, and now you have the Packers coming in. I give this one to the Packers. It's just Aaron Rodgers, and the Packers are a much better team than the Colts, and you just dropped the home opener with the Indianapolis Colts.
Aaron Rodgers is a bad man. And
He's a bad man.
He's not going to lose this game. I'm giving it to the Packers.
I have a lot of respect for Alex Smith and what he does. He doesn't have a lot of weapons around him to really show his value and show his skill. I'm going to have to go with the Packers on this one.
Yeah. So the next game is actually a better contest, obvious, than most would say. 49ers and the Chiefs. A solid game where Jimmy Garoppolo and the Niners are coming off a win at home against the Lions, and the Chiefs are coming off a 6-touchdown performance by Mahomes, and they are home. I mean, the secondary led by Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman is getting up there in age, and his speed is definitely, his ability to play fast is it's looking a little bit less sharp, I would say. And you got to play against the fastest receiver in the NFL right here, Tyreek Hill. That might be a nightmare matchup for Richard Sherman. I'm going with the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chiefs offense right now is just clicking in all cylinders. They got Hill, they got Travis Kelce, Kareem Hunt. They just anywhere they got it all, and Mahomes has been well exceeding expectations right now. It seems like they just can't be stopped on that side of the ball. So I'm just going to give this one to the Chiefs because they're just going to sling it around, and they're going to put up too many points for the Niners to handle.
I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs as well for all of the aforementioned points. I expect Patrick Mahomes to get at least 3 touchdowns, maybe 5 combined if he can get some wheels going. It's going to be cool to see how much he can score with his weapons.
All right, John Gruden's 0-2 Raiders travel to Miami, take on the 2-0 Dolphins.
Miami.
So, Nick, why don't you start this one off?
I'm going with the Raiders. I think they're going to figure it out. Derek Carr looked pretty sharp last week. He seemed like he started to get it going. I'm still worried about that Raiders defense, but I just think offensively the Raiders have enough weapons. They played 2 solid teams the first 2 weeks. I think this is where John Gruden finally gets his first win.
I strongly disagree. I'm going to have to say that Miami is showing a lot of promise. Their wins haven't been pretty, but they came out with their wins, and they've been showing a lot of promise. Ryan Tannehill is looking nasty, albeit a little bit sloppy, but he's definitely going to trim up and clean up as the season goes on. And John Gruden's play calling isn't looking good. Derek Carr is looking sloppy. Their defense is once again looking abysmal. I think they're 28th or 29th in the league right now, maintaining that 26th spot from last year. Miami is going to wipe the floor with the Raiders.
I really have given this a lot of thought, and usually I typically pick against the Dolphins and then hope to be pleasantly surprised. And because that's just who I am, I like to jinx the other opponents. I mean, I picked the Jets all last week in all facets of everything: survivor pools, pick'em weeks, my family pool that I do, and I jinxed the hell out of them, and it worked. But the thing is this: the Raiders are a team that cannot generate a pass rush. I haven't seen enough up front. And haven't seen enough in the linebackers, and they have a very weak secondary. It's a defense that is struggling. Yes, I think that Derek Carr is going to put up some points. It's not a matter, against a very sloppy pass-covering secondary. But my thing is this. The Dolphins' defense with the rush game has been very surprisingly surprising due to the fact that, you don't have Ndamukong Suh there. You're playing with 2 linebackers that have never played NFL regular season games. Jerome Baker, the rookie from Ohio State, and Raekwon McMillan, who they drafted also from Ohio State last year, who tore his ACL in preseason, and he's their starting Mike. And the thing is that this all comes down really to which team has more upside, which team has more momentum. Miami is starting 2-0 off of the fact that they have not. No one thought they were going to go 2-0 to start the season off. And, their backs were against the wall in week 1 when they had to play the Titans coming off a playoff appearance and a playoff win to be that. Getting a win after all week, everyone was talking about the hype with Sam Darnold. You're not going to beat Sam Darnold. He's going to go light it up. He is Broadway. He's back in New York. He is going to, New Jersey, obviously. We're all New Jersey guys. We know where the stadium is. But regardless, the Broadway hype and the fact that no way that Sam Darnold drops his first home game. They were down 20-0 at half and just couldn't find it. Now we're going to hear John Gruden can't possibly go 0-3. Well, yeah, he can. Because the Miami's offense is looked better than is looked more in sync than I've seen it. Without Jay Ajayi, without Jarvis Landry. The ball is getting spread around, and they can go a lot of ways with the ball, and they can hurt you. The defense, for the first time since the Jason Taylor, Zach Thomas, Sam Madison, Pat Surtain era, they're causing turnovers. I think they've got 6 turnovers in the last 2 weeks. I got to go with Miami here. I just think the momentum and what they're doing so far has impressed me to the fact that now I can finally pick them and with confidence say they're going to go 3-0 before they head to Foxborough.
Sounds about right.
Now, when that game comes, my opinion of that's going to change.
Oh, definitely. It's going to be a much better ball game.
Bengals and the Panthers. I'll start this one off. What the Bengals have done the last 2 weeks is really good. You win a Thursday night game against the Ravens. You win a Week 1 game against the Colts. Now reality hits. You're playing Cam Newton. You're playing the Panthers. You're playing a tough team in Carolina. After the community's going to come together and really after this whole storm hits and stuff like that, that's what brings these NFL teams together. I mean, you look at how well the Saints played after Katrina. You look at how well the Texans played after the flood. Carolina's coming back. They're coming off strong after all this. Carolina.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with these giant storms and then the team just coming back playing better than ever, but I can't see that Panthers going 0-3. Cam Newton's he's too good of a player to let that happen to his team, and he knows if he goes 0-3, winning in that division is not going to be easy. So I'm going to go Panthers.
I'm going to have to go with the Panthers as well. Same thing as you guys. I treat it like wrestling. If there's adversity, they're going to come through it. They're going to be better than ever. I feel like Cam Newton's going to be running the ball all over the place. It's going to be very interesting to see how he fares against the Bengals D. But it's also going to be interesting to see how Joe Mixon does against somebody like Luke Kuechly and somebody that can really test his ability to run in open space. So that'll be a really cool thing. But there's in the end will win.
Our next game is going to be the Titans and the Jaguars. I mean, I don't see any reason why the Jaguars don't win this one.
Jags should pull this one off, especially if their offense is clicking like it did last week. They're not going to lose when the offense is playing that good. Their defense is also they're just overall playing well as a team right now, so Jaguars should win.
I feel like Ramsey and Boye are going to have the most scores out of everybody on the team, but that's just going to be my bold prediction. Obviously, the Jaguars are going to win by a pretty decent margin.
Saints, Falcons in Atlanta. Nick?
That's a tough game, but I just think Drew Brees looks way more crisp right now than Matt Ryan. And that Saints offense with Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas, they're all the 3 of them are just clicking. Matt Ryan's inconsistency, it's hard for me to pick the Falcons, so I'm going to go with the Saints.
Yeah, Matt Ryan isn't looking as crisp as he usually does. Matty Ice is melting, and Drew Brees is still in his prime. It's going to be another 4,000-yard season, and the Saints are going to pull it off once again.
I'm going to go with the Falcons at home. I'm so uncertain with the Saints after a Week 1 loss to Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Bucs and a really close game against
The Browns.
The Browns in week 2. I mean, how are you going to go in there with the Atlanta Falcons, Matt Ryan? I mean, coming off a big win against the Panthers, the Falcons are a team that defends the home. They defend and they play really well in Atlanta, Georgia, in their stadium. I don't see why there's any reason why Atlanta can't win this. I mean, I can and I can't, but all this uncertainty with this Saints defense is leading me to believe that this is not going to be a win for them. I give the Falcons this one.
It's definitely going to be a make or break point for the Saints defense, and the Falcons defense is no slouch. They're very underrated, and I think they're
very underrated,
solid,
but are definitely going to miss and going to struggle a little bit without Deion Jones and Keanu Neal.
Definitely going to miss them.
All right, Broncos 2-0 traveling to the Baltimore Ravens. I liked what I've seen from Denver so far. The combination of Royce Freeman and the emergence of Philip Lindsay. Case Keenum he's played decent ball. I wouldn't say that it has been anything special. The Broncos defense has done their part really. With I thought they fared a lot better against the Raiders, an explosive Raiders offense than others. But I mean, Baltimore is going to pick up. They're probably having a chip on their shoulder after losing a tough Thursday night game against the Bengals, and so I'm going to take the Ravens in this one.
I'm going to go with the Broncos. I think Broncos defense is playing really well, like you said. And just not a huge Joe Flacco fan. Last week it didn't seem like he was really in tune with his receivers. First half looked awful. I don't know. I think the Broncos are just right now playing all-around better ball, offense and defense. Maybe Case Keenum could get a little bit more consistent with the ball, but no, I'm going to give this one to the Broncos. Go 3-0.
I'm going to drop some knowledge.
Oh, here we go.
We got Philip Lindsay, first undrafted player to have over 200 rushing yards in the first 2 weeks of the season. We got Von Miller, sack leader of the NFL. We got brick hands Demaryius Thomas not being able to catch a ball for his life.
Oh, it was bad last week.
The secondary's looking solid. We got Bradley Roby looking good. We have Adam Jones, Pac-Man, looking okay. He's a little bit too dirty for our taste. I mean, he's no Aqib Talib, and that's for sure. And Darian Stewart's looking like dirt, as always. But Bradley Chubb is really showing off. Derek Wolfe is a very underrated defensive end, and he's going to be proving his worth greatly against the Ravens offense. And with all that in mind, I see no reason why the Denver Broncos should lose. So I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens for this one.
Oh, man. Taking
what
a left
What
turn.
a classic Broncos fan move. Choose the other team just to jinx them. This sounds like Justin.
No. I took it out of the Conn's book of mischief. I'm trying to get on his level.
It's a good move. It's a good play.
It's one of those things.
You'll win either way.
It's one of those things where, you know what? You bet against your team wins. Yeah, you didn't bet them to be right, but you're happy that they won. You bet they lose. Yeah, you lost, but you were right that they lost.
If the Jets lose this week, I chose the Jets to lose week 1 and they won. Maybe I have to start saying they'll lose. So, all right.
Something I learned from my mother, because she always used to do that in our family pool. She'd pick against the Giants so that they'd win. And my father back then, too, when he would do this, because we adopted that pool for somebody else.
Although I do have one bold prediction for this game. Jake Butt is going to be the breakout star, and he's going to have the most receiving yards out of everybody on the Broncos.
Oh, Jake Butt.
I think Jake Butt is going to have a breakout against the Ravens linebackers. He's much faster than most of their secondary. I think he's going to have a breakout game this week, and he's really going to show his worth.
The battle for L.A. Chargers, Rams. We'll start with Scott.
Rams.
Emphatically.
I feel like Philip Rivers just likes losing for some reason. He always finds a new way to totally screw up the team.
Oh, they beat the Bills last week. Come on.
Oh, wow, they beat the Bills, who are now considered to be the worst in the league. My thing with the Chargers is that Melvin Gordon's great. Keenan Allen is great. Their offensive line is really mediocre at best. Philip Rivers does a lot with what he has, And now we have the defense looking decent. We have a decent pass rush thanks to Joey Bosa, but there's not really a lot going on in terms of real production. So it's going to be interesting to see how they can fare against a very volatile Rams offense and scoring defense, because their secondary has been looking phenomenal. Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters have been shutting down just about every receiver that they've come up against so far. And it's going to be wonderful to see how they do against an experienced quarterback like Rivers.
I love Phillip Rivers, but that Rams defense is too phenomenal, and Todd Gurley's playing on another level, so I just find it tough for the Chargers to win it, so I'm going to give the Rams this one.
I like the Chargers. I really like the Chargers. I like their receiving core. I think they're good. But the Rams are the best team in football right now. It's no ifs, ands, or buts. Going with the Rams.
Not to mention Wade Phillips is their defensive coordinator. It's going to be beautiful. He's shown a lot of success against Phillip Rivers in the past, and it's only going to continue.
Bears and the Cardinals. Bears defense is too hot. I'm going with the Bears.
And the Cardinals on offense just look dysfunctional, and but the Bears defense just looks phenomenal. So that's just that's a nightmare for the Cardinals. So yeah, the Bears should win this one.
I'm hoping Bradford gets clipped. I hope Rosen gets in, and we're going to be able to see how this rookie can fare. But other than that, it's not going to be a very interesting game. The Bears are going to be solid.
Yeah, he was in there for like a drive last time, and they put Bradford back in.
The Bears.
Cowboys, Seahawks. I'm going to give this one to the Seahawks, you know. I saw some good things on Monday night. Enough that I could confidently pick the Seahawks in this one. I just don't think that Dallas is, one game against the Giants is not going to do much. And yes, the pass rush is going to probably affect things with the Seahawks. But the thing is that you're not playing against a grizzled vet that can't run. You're playing against Russell Wilson, a guy that can get out of the pocket, can throw on the run, and still make plays. So I'm going to give this one to the Seahawks. It's against the Cowboys team that struggles on the road.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I don't know. This is one I kind of think it's a toss-up. I think these teams are, talent-wise, are kind of close. Of course, the Seahawks got the huge advantage at quarterback. I don't know why. Something just telling me the Cowboys are going to pull this one off. I think maybe Zeke could pull out a good performance. I don't know why, but my head's telling me to go to the Cowboys, so I'm just going to go there. I just don't think the Seahawks offense, besides Russell Wilson's, anything good. So I think Zeke will be enough for the Cowboys to pull this one off.
I honestly feel really bad for Russell Wilson. He has been getting beat up the last couple of weeks, and it's not going to be slowing down with the Cowboys. The Cowboys are going to mince poor Russell Wilson. They're going to take him out, and they're going to hurt him quite badly. It's not going to be enough to take him out of the game, but he's going to get sacked a few times. I'm going to have to go with the Cowboys on this one. And Seahawks, fix your damn O-line. That's all I have to say.
Giants, too.
Got a lot of pieces to do that. A matchup that doesn't seem really that close, but could be. Because we see Bill Belichick and the Patriots travel to Detroit to take on Matt Patricia, the former defensive coordinator. And this is an interesting matchup. And Scott, we'll start with you.
This is definitely going to be very interesting to see how Belichick and Patricia can fight against each other in this one. It's definitely going to be a battle of wits. It seems like Patricia's going to go for more of the deep ball on offense. He's definitely going to have a little bit more zone coverage on defense, rather. And Belichick is going to throw out something that Patricia's never seen. It's going to be a very interesting manner of play, and I'll take a guess in the dark, just because the Patriots have been so solid, consistent at least. And with the return of Josh Gordon, if he's going to be playing this coming week, I'll have to go with the Patriots.
I just think Matt Stafford's too inconsistent in the ball. He turns the ball over too much, and I think Tom Brady in that offense is going to take advantage of that. Josh Gordon, if he's in, he's only going to be in for a few plays, probably like vertical routes or like design plays for him. But I just think the Patriots are too well-rounded of a team to lose to Detroit, and especially the way Detroit looks right now. Even though, the coaches, they know each other well. Belichick, assistants have gone elsewhere to be head coaches. None of them, I think, have a record over 500, or maybe only one. I'm not 100% sure on that, but this should just be another Patriots win, in my opinion.
I don't think it's so crazy to think that the Detroit Lions can win this one, especially with Matt Patricia knowing exactly what Belichick and Brady like to do on certain downs, certain plays, getting the ball out of the back into the hands of your very versatile running back core. I don't think it's so crazy to think that the Detroit Lions can pull this one off. Am I going to bet on them? No, I'm not going to bet on it. I'm going to pick the Patriots, but I think this is going to be a closer game than people are going to let on. Yes, I think that the Patriots win this because they are the better team. They are coming off a loss, and they don't like to lose. They do not like to lose, especially I don't see them lose a lot of 2 games in a row. So I'm going to give this one to the Patriots, but don't be surprised if the Lions can figure out a way to win here in Week 3. Monday Night Football. Steelers, Bucks.
Oof. Battle of the Beards.
This is tough.
It's tough, but I cannot. As much as I love the seeing what the Bucks are doing right now, as much as I am so overwhelmed by Fitzmagic, can the Steelers go 0-2-1? It just doesn't seem possible. With all this talent, with all this just unbridled frustration needs to go out somewhere, and I think it's going to come out on Monday. I'm picking the Steelers.
It's called magic for a reason, and it's going to keep happening week 3.
Oh, my
Tampa
gosh.
Bay goes 3-0 under Fitzpatrick, and he keeps his job going into week 4.
This is going to be a true sling. There is going to be no defense. It is going to be a timed match of who can score the most touchdowns. Bold prediction, combined score of 78 points or more.
Oof.
It is going to be a straight up sling.
A spectacle.
I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be able to pull it out.
Wow.
He's going to be able to get more work with Deshaun Jackson.
Wow.
They're going to kill it, and it's going to be very interesting to see how many touchdowns that tandem is going to get this coming week. I'm going to have to go with the Bucks.
I just think Big Ben being 0-1-1 is going to try to force too many plays, and he's going to turn the ball over, and it's just going to lead to more Fitz magic, and I love it.
Wow. I did not expect us 3 weeks ago to sit down here and we have a majority for the Bucks over the Steelers.
I had the Bucks being the worst in the league.
That's the beauty. That's the beauty of NFL football.
It's just the momentum and the hot streak and dudes wearing gold chains and press conferences.
Be humble. Stay humble.
You know what? And it just Pittsburgh's defense looks abysmal, and I'm just not. Big Ben's he's not the same guy he was, and I don't know, man. I'm on the train right now. I'm on the ship. I'm on the ship.
He's on the ship.
I'm sailing.
People are on the ship. Definitely another Thursday, Sunday, Monday to look forward to with a lot of great NFL action. But here in Conn and the Stick, that's going to do it for us. Scott, thank you for coming on here, sharing your opinions. You got a really off topic with the Johnny Manziel call, and we're going to have to review that. The board's going to have to put that under review if we're going to have you come back on here. But regardless,
I'm around for this just in, the Johnny Bones Jones fight for the UFC podcast that will be more than likely upcoming in the next coming weeks. We're going to have to check that out.
John Jones.
Y'all are going to have to do some research because I'm going to be prepared for that.
Oh, boy. So, from Nick Smith and myself, I'm Justin Connolly. Stay tuned next week where we are going to do the same thing. Week 3 review, Week 4 predictions.